Fire tornado spawns on driveway by Daily Dose of Internet. Now, as somebody that did do decent in chemistry and knows some interesting facts about some interesting things, stuff like this isn't entirely impossible. It just depends how much is put into it and in what manner, if that makes sense. So, alas, I want to figure out what the internet's going on about with a fire tornado spawning in someone's driveway. That'd be
Hello
interesting.
everyone, this is your Daily Dose of Internet. A meteorologist in North Dakota was trying to burn ice off his driveway when he accidentally made a fire tornado.
Interesting, actually. How? That's the question.
Amazing.
That's amazing. Oh, that was it. Bird fight. Bird up? Question mark? Oh. That is the epitome of I'm taking you down with me. Hold up. Does this fit though? And sugar, we're going down swinging. It does. Oh.
Can someone explain how these cones fit in this bag?
That's some Scooby-Doo clown car levels of jank. I'm sure they're collapsible in some capacity, right? Yeah, they're collapsible. You can see. Yeah, you can see that when he pulls them out. That's just kind of a trick of the angle, I'd argue. Like, so compare one that's fully extended, if you will, right? And then there's one that's more compact, right? And as you go forward, you can see the stress point. You can see it go from a folded state into an upright position. You can see the stress points on there. There's an actual scientific professional term for that. I am not smart enough for that. If you know what I'm talking about, if you know what exactly that term is, definitely down in the comments section. I'd appreciate that.
This dad was trying to teach his kids how to do a fake slap.
Your head.
Oh no.
Right? Oh.
Yep. No, this is par for the course. Oh! Yeah, that cognizance isn't quite there yet, and people wonder, Kip, are you ever gonna have kids? No, I hope not. That'd be awful. Can you imagine multiple Kip running around? Oh, the world is not ready for that. I'm not ready for that. The world isn't ready for that.
Delivery driver was upset that this customer didn't leave a tip, so she left this note in her bag.
Look, if you didn't bother, next time consider tipping your driver. Well, so and I can say as working for can I even say what service I worked for? We're just gonna say that I worked for a pick up, hey, you order your food and I drive your food to you service. And I mean, so a lot of tipping culture is actually fairly interesting because if you want to put out a weirdly like professional appearance, if that makes sense. So not quite like suit and tie levels, right? Like you'd go to a bank or you'd go to a car dealership. Someone's got a tie or maybe very dressed up, right? More like you don't want to like have a ramen hoodie and some maybe ripped jeans and drive around in like a beat up car or something like that. If you take kind of like pride in what you do, and say you have a Dodge Challenger, Dodge Charger, Mustang, something like this, right? Like a good looking car, I'd argue. Or maybe you drive GMC, maybe drive a Prius, Subaru, whatever, right? If you drive a higher end car and you come out, your shirt tucked in, you got your belt, and maybe you have some sort of button up on, right? And you're very professional, you're very prompt in what you do. Tips aren't guaranteed, but firsthand, I've noticed that that's actually improved a lot of things. Like if I rolled out of bed, so to speak, took a shower, and just threw on some t-shirts and stuff, right? And maybe like a jacket, my tips were lesser in the same exact car than when I wore a button up. And then, I kind of maybe slicked my hair back or something like that. And I was very, prompt to the door very quickly, very, very not intrusive, if you will. So things like that definitely does help. However, tipping culture in itself is a very hot button issue. And I would argue doing away with tipping would be the smart thing. That is also the caveat that employers need to be paying their employees a lot better, because here in Idaho, at the very least, and I as far as I'm aware, our labor laws haven't changed from when I was working for tips at a theater, is that, $7.25 is legal minimum wage in Idaho. And sure, I could get tips in that, but when I worked around people, some bartenders and waitresses and wait staff, right, they were making like $3.25, $4 less than me, and legally they could do it because they're getting tips that make up for that $7.25. So it ends up about the same. Where my argument is, even if you're putting forced gratuity on bills and stuff, tipping culture, the fact that it's as volatile a subject, controversial even as it is, just do away with it. Just pay your employees. It's actually why I don't have an editor. It's actually why, Kip, why don't you have someone make your thumbnails? Kip, why don't you have someone edit your stuff? Because I feel personally responsible that if I want somebody to go through my VODs and stuff, I'd want to pay them a living wage. I don't make a living wage right now, not entirely, and that's the goal I'd like to get to. However, I have to consider that, I don't want someone, don't want to pay him, $15,000 a year when they can't even do it to pay their bills, right? That's the kind of thing that I come across from, and I think that separates me from other content creators and other people on YouTube where I'm kind of cognizant and I don't want to commit to something that I myself can't afford, and I want to make sure that I'm paying people. But then again, this apparently makes me better than a lot of companies out there, so do that as you will. In summary, tipping culture is strange, and at the very least, I would read up on it and have your own educated opinion on the subject.
Only to realize that she made a mistake.
Oh no.
Ignore it. You keep that.
Why?
Because I didn't see a tip on the app and I put a little card in there.
That is actually needlessly aggressive. As somebody that has done some job, has done some stuff, and has no tip, that's one of those grin and bear it or just don't say anything. When you bring that up, I feel that becomes an issue. And that was where we enter an aggressive territory. That enters where people, get to start making reviews and stuff. It all comes down to play the game, right? You have to play the game in life to progress through life. So for instance, right? Oh, Kip, why don't you react to this thing specifically? And if I look at it and I'm like, this may get 200 views at most, and it eats up one of my upload slots, right? I'm kind of de-incentivized from that, even though I might have a lot to say on the subject. You have to, in certain capacities, play the game. You don't have to fully commit to the game. Don't get me wrong. Notice that I don't have a crypto project out there. Notice that I don't have a lot of things that a bunch of these other creators have out there. I don't have my own energy drink. I don't have my own flavor. I mean, one day, I'd like to have a flavor with some brand, but I want to make sure I trust that brand and stuff. I do things differently enough, but I also play the game just enough to be in certain good graces and hit certain metrics, if that makes sense. You don't have to commit, but you have to at least get partially there. And that's when we start getting into malicious compliance. And oh boy, that is a fun one.
So please keep that. I'm sorry.
No, I just had cash. Please take
It's okay. It's okay, because
It's
okay. Thank you.
The consequences of your actions, just that is it's not necessarily karmic, right? But that is the perfect, you make an action or you make an assumption, and these are the consequences of your actions. Thus, you're having a negative experience now because of the actions that you committed with little to no information. Once again, do everything you can to. You don't have to be an expert in the subject, I'd argue. You don't have to, have a PhD in physics to talk about certain things, right? When you start coming across as this is definitively factual, that's when we start getting into the weird science scam part of YouTube, and I'm very, very much against that because misinformation is incredibly powerful. Both misinformation and disinformation are very powerful, and stuff like that. Yeah, I would argue an expert should probably comment on those and at least be able to say, hey, I have these credentials, this is why you're wrong, that kind of thing, right? But just this leads to a negative interaction. This leads to a negative social state. Just think through your things and become educated enough on certain things to be able to just progress your life, right? Going back to just play the game enough.
Have a good night.
Lots to say on that, actually. Amazing. That's an entire mood, though. You ever just wake up and just fall over Hulk meme? Yeah, that's the one.
Trying to go for a walk when her dog spotted something.
It's a bear. Well, see, everyone jokes about wildlife. Isn't it up in certain places in Canada you have to leave your car doors unlocked because moose? I think part of it might be a freezing thing, right? If you're caught out after dark, you have to make sure you have somewhere to go. I thought allegedly there were places in Canada that you had to leave your doors unlocked in case a moose just shows up. That is one of the animals that you just don't mess with from everything that I've heard. I mean, geese are cobra chickens. They're kind of an interesting phenomena. You actually can't do anything with those in Idaho. As far as I'm aware, they're actually protected in Idaho. So even if they're harassing you, you can't do anything to cobra chickens. So, like, bear shows up. That is a running is probably going to provoke a response. I know that there's the whole black bear, brown bear kind of thing. I am nowhere near educated enough to really make that difference. I would definitely recommend researching that as a subject. Moose, however, which actually is also the plural moose, that is a very interesting animal. What is it? When moose dive to the bottom of whatever body water they're in, if there's an orca, they will actually engage in fights sometimes. Both apexes just engaging in a fight. And it's apparently a 50-50 in favor of the moose, which is wild to me. Football! Field goal! Wow, actually, that's impressive.
This military ship had to go straight through a hurricane.
You know, now that I think about that, actually, yeah, they would sail through some of that if it was unavoidable, wouldn't they? Navy members in chat, in the comment section, have you ever, is this a thing? Actually, is there an operations manual in this? Because I hear the Navy has an operations manual for anything. If I need to know how to flush a toilet, if I need to know how to prepare beans, there's an operations manual for that, right? Is there an operations manual for this? I'm very curious. I'm very, very curious about this. Yeah, no, that'd be wild.
This is how you wish someone a happy birthday on an airplane.
Happy birthday to you. Play ball.
Play ball? What? What do you play ball?
Blow out those candles.
Wait a minute. Okay.
What am I supposed
Like, wait, they don't actually have candles. That makes sense. That's actually quite cool. That's actually quite immersive with the flight, too. I actually am a huge fan of that.
Drivers recorded himself playing on a flying piano for his music video.
That's next level, actually. That's how you get the algorithm. That's how you get traction in the algorithm. 100%. Now, professional do not attempt. Yeah, 100%. That took pig. There is an imposter among us. Do 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 do. It's kind of weird that Among Us has just been so incepted into our just collective unconscious. Like, I cannot hear. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14, right? And sometimes they'll just say Among Us, and I just go. It's just been so incepted. Pig. Yeah, no, that makes sense actually. I mean, how would a pig
I have never seen
act?
a more evil smile.
Y'all, he closed the cat
Amazing.
in the kennel.
Yeah, you know what you did. Toby has a sock. Amazing. This cat is next
That is
level.
this video, or we hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Later.
Dog head empty. Why is there snow? Why is thing? What happened? This was great, actually. I'm actually very, very much enjoying this, and I see why a lot of React content react to this. It's very easily approachable. You can have a lot of commentary on certain things, specifically tip culture in this video, right, for me, and it's just very approachable for a lot of people. For your average user, yeah, absolutely. 2 minutes, 56 seconds. Very in, out, bam. And I argue that actually goes against going YouTube metrics, right? YouTube metrics-wise, you want your video between, like, what is it, 8 minutes and 10 minutes for max ad revenue. But then again, you look at, how many does this have? 2.9 million views as of January 13th of this year, I believe, 2024. And, it's one of those things that it has enough substance to stand on its own. You can watch this and then you can, take a break for 2 months or whatever. And you're just like, oh, actually, hold up. I can go watch that again because I thought that was cool. While it seems like it's churning out content, it's not actually churning out content, if that makes sense. It's the fact that it still is timeless in its own right? Like Buckshot Roulette for Markiplier here in the corner, right? It is, I would argue for content creation, you want to make sure that you're putting out a product that isn't necessarily being a content mill, so to speak, but that you're putting out a genuine product and you're just putting out something that can stand on its own 2 feet, not something like, hey Kip Nation, today we're going to be talking about the crypto world. We're talking about that BTC, talking about that Zoo token, right? Like, one, I think the intro would, over where it's welcome really fast if I started opening videos like that. 2, makes me tired to be that to be that energetic. Let's be real. 3, I mean, you see how I feel that it would just, after a certain amount of time, just be completely null and void. And then you could make the argument, well, what about Pokemon content, right? Who's going to watch VGC 2017 videos, right? Well, on that specifically, there are people that play older Pokemon formats. There are people that still play RBY format. There's still people that play GSC format. And in fact, as far as I'm aware, Moltres used to be considered one of the worst Pokemon in RBY, but within recent years has surfaced as one of the premier threats of RBY, or at least a threat that people need to be, take into consideration. So there are people that still play those older formats. And while, necessarily making a, Farina guide for, patch 4.1 of Genshin, no, it's 4.2 of Genshin, right? Maybe that wears off as your mix your metrics right off the bat. And then it falls off after that because, maybe they rework Farina or something like that. There could be a niche audience that's like, oh, well, how did old Genshin, how was old Farina designed, right? Or older Smite tutorials, right? Where they've reworked a bunch of characters. As far as I'm aware, they reworked Merlin a little bit. Arthur functions a little different than he used to, right? So things like that, might get dated. But things like this stand on their own two legs is what I'm trying to say. If you watched to the end, thank you, Absolute Certified Legend. I hope this was insightful in some capacity. I hope I added something to this, which, this was a 2-minute video, and we're at 8 times the runtime. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you all in the next